5 seconds.
Good evening. Today is May 10th, 2018. The time is 7:05 p.m. This is the monthly meeting of the Beech Grove Redevelopment Commission. I would ask our commissioners to introduce themselves, starting from my right.
Tara Wolf.
Kathy Chappell, Secretary.
Ron Moat, Vice President.
And I'm Donald Webb, the president. Our first order of agenda tonight will be approving April's meeting minutes. I'd first ask if there are any comments or corrections, and if not, then I would ask for someone to make a motion to approve the minutes.
I make said motion.
I'd ask for a second.
I'll second.
All in favor of approving, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, the minutes are approved. The next thing we have is payment of our bills. We have Lewis and Caps for $468, Tim Showalter for $225, Borgman Enterprises for $240, our sewer bill for $1875, Crossroads Engineering work on the greenways, $5560, that's $5,560. Peters Municipal Consultants, that's $733.34. That was for a resolution we'll be bringing up shortly and some other work they do to meet the RDC's reporting requirements for the state. And then we have Kevin Parsons and Associates, $5,000. We will be hearing what that money went to here shortly as well. I would ask for a motion to approve all but the Crossroads Engineering for payment.
I make said motion.
Second.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Because Tara has her husband that works for Crossroads, she will abstain, but then I would ask for voting on Crossroads Engineering spending, but I would ask my other two members to make a motion to approve Crossroads for $5560.
I make said motion.
Second?
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, the motion to pay all bills has been done. I'll ask my associates to pay it, and I'll give you back your pen.
Thanks.
The next thing I have is a resolution. Every year we are required by law to state if we have excess funds, and if we do we need them? If not, they should go back to the taxing districts like the city, school, and all that. This is resolution number 3, resolution of the City of Beech Grove Redevelopment Commission regarding the determination of the amount of incremental assessed value in one or more allocation areas needed to pay obligations of the commission and other purposes to be undertaken by the commission. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but basically we have gone through with Jeff Peters and Associates and determined that with our bond obligations, which still total over $2 million, and we pay roughly $580,000 a year, that we still do not have excess money to put back to the city or the other agencies that were pulled from those TIF districts to provide for the RDC. So with that, I would ask for a motion to approve resolution number 3, determination of excess monies.
I make said motion.
I'd ask for a second.
Second.
All in favor of approving the resolution?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, the resolution number 3 is approved. There's 2 of them here. I'll have you guys sign both. We'll give one to the mayor and to file for us, and the other one will go to, I'm sorry, I forgot your name.
Scott Oliver.
Scott Oliver. One will go to Scott. Robert, he's here on behalf of Robert tonight. He's the Redevelopment Commission's attorney for tonight. So, let's see here. Yeah, this is from Jeff Peters regarding that, and I'm going to take a moment to read it real quick because this was on that resolution. It is Peter Municipal's consultants' understanding that the Beech Grove TIF funds do not have sufficient monies to retire outstanding debt obligation, refinancing Series 2006, and fulfill its other plan objectives. As December 31st, 2017, a cash balance TIF fund was $569,947, and the current outstanding principal of the interest payments of the bonds is $1,821,640. It is further our understanding that all TIF revenue pledged towards security towards the repayment of the outstanding bonds and to be assessed value to the tax base could endanger the interest of the bondholders as precluded under IC 36-7-14-39 B4B. In addition, the plan objective of the Greenway is expected to cost $645,000 over the next 5 years. So that's where that determination, Jeff, who's basically the accountant for the RDC, our financial advisor, determined that, and that's where this resolution came from. So with that, I guess we can move on to, what else did we want to talk about? Do we want to go ahead and do Kevin?
Yeah.
Kevin Parsons is going to speak to us. Last year, we undertook the idea of making 465 and Emerson Avenue look nice, and we solicited Kevin, and we signed a contract, and he is here to report on where we are with that project.
Thank you, Don. We're in progress is where we're at, but we kind of got a slow start off after February. I think it's the last time we met with you, if I remember right, was February, and then we missed a meeting. It's actually been a good year. I think everybody's been busy. But we were getting caught up, and what we've got tonight is basically a design development package. John Lapp is going to be with me. He'll be making the presentation for it. He's going to hand you all a little package now. We took the preferred signs that were up on Emerson, not down on the Interstate Bridge, and developed those in a little more detail. We made some adjustments, scale-wise, size-wise, and a location actually up in that green space. We've got some overhead utilities on the west side. When you're eastbound coming up the ramp, we had to set back for. And then we had the NDOT tower on the east side, and of course, they're both drainage bowls is what they are. So we think we have pretty good location. I'll have John go ahead and explain the design and the location, because I think your graphics are in order for the plan view there to the interstate.
Yeah, we numbered them this time to make it easy so you guys can follow along. The first page that we're looking at, and some of the things that we took into consideration in this round, was the actual size of this structure, how it would fit in the space that we're working with. The sign that we proposed previously was about a 45-foot long sign. It's about 23 feet tall. At the widest point, it's about 10 foot wide, and then at the skinny parts, it's about 3 foot. So with that 45-foot width, or length, if you will, walking out there, looking at it, and figuring out where it might fit within the site and within the kind of triangular bowls, if you will, that are the exit ramp locations that we'd identified in the master plan process. So the first page that we're looking at, we've got the southwest and the northeast quadrants, and we're locating those monuments in plan view. If we look at the southwest gateway location, excuse me, we're trying to center that on the exit ramp view as you're exiting off the ramp and you're looking up. It's a pretty good location in that regard. We've got a constraint to the north that is an overhead power pole, and on the south is the overhead interstate signage pole. So some of the things that we have to work within. Obviously, there's an overhead utility line that we need to stay clear of as well. So that's why this one is located about 20 feet off of the existing sidewalk edge towards the west. If we jump over to the northeast side, we are dealing with a much steeper slope, and a much steeper slope that happens a lot faster. And we don't have the overhead constraints, and we can get this one a lot closer to the pavement and a lot closer to the sidewalk, and then it won't be down in the bowl, and we won't be building as much structure trying to retain the earth. And again, this one is located kind of in the center access point as you're exiting off of the ramp, coming in from the east side headed west. And we tried to locate it as best we could in a location that would not conflict with that existing tower that's also located in that area. So moving on to the second page, this is just kind of a little bit more enhanced view. Some of the things that we were looking at in this stage is the directive of trying to make this a double-sided sign, something that's visible and pleasant from both sides, which is pretty easy for us to do because it's the same front and back. With this version, we've changed the upper portion a little bit. We've enclosed it a little bit more. What we're proposing is to have the same kind of channel box letter, internally lit box letter signage on both sides that would read from both sides of the interstate. Because one of the things, as you're headed westbound, coming around 465, you're going to see the south side one before you see the north side. So as you're coming around, you're actually going to visually see the backside of that one sign before you actually see the sign on the north side. So that was kind of one of the things that, this is going to be a mirrored image on both sides. We are proposing that this would be more enclosed, but not completely enclosed, not a roofed structure. As you remember from our initial concept, this was an I-beam type of material, and then we have reclaimed railroad lines, rail lines across the top as acting as kind of a trellis or a roof structure, and then the overall design is reflective of the train sheds and the repair sheds here in town. And so we're also looking at trying to kind of enclose that upper cavity and create, and the rendering, I apologize, doesn't do a very good job of.
Jump to the next page.
Yeah, the second page. Yeah.
3 and 4 will show you.
In section, yeah, in elevation and section. So we're trying to give a transparency look and feel and not have it in enclosed space, because one of the features would be to try and internally light this cavity, and so that would have kind of a glowing look and color to it, and it could be, color changing, or it doesn't have to be, but it could just be a kind of a much bigger glow at night that would also complement the internally lit logo and Beech Grove lettering. Page 3 is also calling out a little bit more on the dimensioning, the overall size, materials that we're proposing. One of the materials on the bottom of this that we're kind of looking at is a concrete product that is made to look like wood, and I brought a sample of it, and it kind of plays a little bit on a railroad tie, so it's pretty heavy to pass around, but colors and textures, and it would just be kind of applied at the base of the wall. But just one thing that we're kind of looking at.
I have a question.
Yep.
Yeah, very nice.
Up here where the logo, the trees, and you said you can see through it, is it glass, is it plexiglass? What?
Perforated metal is what we're looking at. So a metal sheet that has a lot of little holes. One of the ideas that we're kind of tossing around is maybe a laser etch or a laser cutout. So it's a metal panel that's affixed in there, but we could come up with a nice design in it that would allow light to kind of penetrate through that. But it would be metal with the box.
It's actually a solid piece, but it's perforated.
Right.
Whatever design ends up being.
Okay.
I mean,
So
it's still a play off what you have downtown here and on Emerson,
Right,
but that's solid plexi, translucent there. Where
right.
Ours is still, light will go through the holes, but not the whole box.
That'll be cool.
So the fourth section, or the fourth page, is showing more of an end elevation as you're looking north. This is the southwest quadrant, so the one that has a greater separation from the street, from the sidewalk. And then we didn't draw the overhead utility line, probably would have been helpful, but it is somewhere up there. We're going to be much lower than that. We're assuming probably.
Yeah, well, you're showing 20 feet tall, and those were up pushing 30, I believe.
Yeah, the high overhead utilities.
7.5 feet. Big parts wide, I think.
The fifth page is a section through this. It's again giving a little bit more detailed concept information on just space, shape, size, materials. This is the northeast quadrant, so it's again giving you a little bit better feel for the relationship between the pedestrian and the vehicle. One of the things to keep in mind on both of these locations is that extra large shoulder, so the cars will be almost a lane's width away from the sidewalk and from the actual signage. The last page is just kind of an enlarged view, or a zoomed-in view, I guess, of that perforated metal
Yeah, I see it
cavity.
better now.
Yeah, and again, the program we use doesn't render it very well. It makes it very transparent. And I think that it would take on more of a feel of looking more solid during the day, and then you would see the light through it at night. It provides us an opportunity to have something to mount the channel letters to and have access in the backside. You can kind of hide the guts of all those things. And then we're working or looking at the size of the lettering and the signage to make sure that we're going to have good visibility from distances. And then,
That was one of our concerns with not doing the big bridge sign yet, is making sure that the word Beech Grove can be seen as people approaching. Originally, if we build that one at the same time, it wouldn't be quite as important, but since this is gonna be primary and, potentially maybe the only one, we wanna make sure it's readable.
I agree.
and just to give you an idea, the sign, the letters that we're showing there currently, the B itself, the stick of that B is about 18 inches tall. Every other letter is about 9. So, and given that, we might want to change the shape or the width of that a little bit, or work with that to get those to be a little bit taller. So, and another thing that we kind of changed from the last version to this is previously we were showing that Beech Grove lettering on the I-beam below, and now we're kind of moving it up and getting it higher up in the air so that it's a little bit more visible from a greater distance.
Yeah, I like that better.
Good.
And one thing we didn't mention last time on this is the planters, they're showing anyway, are very similar to what you've got over here on Emerson and Main, on those islands. They've got the sloped base to them. These are kind of a play, they're not gonna be exactly, but kind of a play on that too. So there's that connection between downtown and up there, or down there. That's kind of where we're at. We've not started our NDOT coordination yet, which is another thing we're behind on. So we have to get that going and get them on before. And our cost estimate
Right,
is not prepared yet tonight either on this.
so the structure will be steel-coated beams. What type of corrosion life is that looking at? Do you know?
Not really
And are
offhand,
the rails gonna be coated as well?
probably with some sort of coating or dipping.
Because I worry about, again, given the
Rusting
weather,
and-
those things would start rusting and they'd
Right.
stain. And the last thing we want is our Beech Grove sign with big orange stains running everywhere.
Well, and I remember you guys said versus the rusted, you wanted more of the dark coated. And I don't know if you're familiar with Bomar here in town. They're a metal fabrication shop, and we've been talking to them a lot, working with them. They call on us quite a bit, and it's somebody that I plan to sit down with and talk to their designers and work with them a little bit and say, how would this best work and be put together with their materials and knowledge and
I mean, I don't know about
Experience.
the rest of the guys, but I like like I'm looking at number 3 now, and I would think it would look very appealing to the eye coming off the interstate. To your suggestion on the color wheel, I think we would want something like that, and I don't know if it'd be road control, but like on Friday nights when our high school has a football game or a basketball game, to have that lit in orange, to represent
Drawing the
it.
traffic and-
At
yeah.
Christmas, maybe a green or a red for a holiday. The 4th of July, of course, either red, white, or blue. But I think that would be, again, other enhancements to the city and the brand on that. And then the planters, I kind of like the idea of the grass because that's pretty low maintenance. One thing I'd worry about, we probably have to include, would be watering it, because if you get these dry stretches like in August, I could see it in these planters burn out pretty quick, but
Absolutely.
overall, I like it. And the other question is, will there be illumination? Because you're gonna have to run power to it, obviously. Well, is there other opportunities for illumination below, or is it just gonna be in that upper spot where the Beech Grove is?
I mean, yes,
And we
and
could actually light the columns, we could light the base.
Yeah, I'd like you guys to work,
Electricity out there, so you
Yeah.
just-
that right there, that's what I
this is
was,
the one that we had proposed previously and kind of shown in a
Right.
night view.
yeah, that's what I was thinking I'd like to see. Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Very nice.
So a little bit more of that.
Because to your point, it may be a few years before we can afford the bridge signs. So I'd rather spend a little extra and do a little extra to make these absolutely as nice as possible. Because I think we can afford and swing these pretty quick. The other stuff you're talking about, it's a bit more daunting.
We also plan on putting some more landscape around this at the ground plane is not showing yet.
Right.
Low maintenance and low growth, not trees or tall stuff. We don't want to block the sign by any means.
Do we have any concerns about these, the base of this looking like a comfortable seating area for lots of people who hang out there with signs and things?
I know what you're talking about.
Is
The
that any
lawyers.
concern?
Well,
But
and,
there's
and
always a pile of trash there, and I'd hate to see a pile of trash on this.
one of the things on that northwest side, because of the grade separation and change, we're proposing or thinking that it'll probably only be about 6 to 8 inches higher than the sidewalk, on the sidewalk side. And then on the back side or the west side, or the east side, it would be another 3 feet down or 3.5 feet or something to that effect. And with our landscaping and other things, we can kind of try to, design it so that it's not as easy for them to get to or through to that area.
I wonder, this is NDOT property, right? I'll say if it's city property, we could go along the lines of no trespassing to keep people away from those. I mean, it's a problem we have, and it's no different than any other. I get off at 37 on Harding Street, or 465 on Harding, and there's always the same panhandler down there every night, and I think that's where I'm hearing the concerns, because there'll be a trash bag of garbage there, and that's what I think our worry is how quickly does debris start coming around this thing? And like that, you get 2 or 3 of them sitting there waiting for the cars or something, but I don't know, maybe we put spikes on the seat.
Oh,
Have you
Barbed
done
wire.
any- Has there been any efforts in Beech Grove to keep the panhandlers and the homeless off the intersection?
There have been, but,
Are you legally able to get away with it? No. ACLU bunch?
yep,
That's the toughest one.
Littering.
Outside of,
Middle shift every day is down there, they just move them out, and then they move them out, and then they go under the bridge, and then they go, the police go under the bridge and move them out, they come up on top. It's just a revolving, it's every day.
There are certainly things that we can design into the cap of this that would help prevent people from wanting to sit and lay.
I guess that's all, I don't know how these guys feel, but to me, that would be low-hanging fruit, or just stuff that I'm more, to me, it's getting the lighting around the base and trying to make it as vandal-proof as possible as you're designing it, and just overall the eye,
Yeah.
because I mean, no matter what, there's no good solution to the panhandlers. I mean, there just isn't, so I mean, it's
Yeah.
just something we're gonna have to live with and everybody has to live with.
In the site plan, on page 1, I think it shows, we're a good 40 feet away from the exit ramp on the northeast
Right.
side. So from a sitting standpoint, they're pretty far away from their point
Well,
of service.
You show the exit ramps going south and north, those are where they are, so I mean, they'd have to cross those lanes, and if they go over there, then there's nobody to get money from, so I
Right.
mean, where they get caught with the lights, that's where they stay anyway, so I guess I don't put it high on the list of worry.
Okay.
wasn't there an issue with somebody, excuse me, wasn't there an issue with somebody not connected to you folks about signage? Wasn't there a meeting about that? Robert told me about that. Do you know what I'm talking about? Kevin, do you know what I'm
Oh,
talking?
that was, yeah, no, that's a billboard down the street,
Down the street, okay.
digital billboard on Elmwood Avenue,
Okay.
down past Expo Hall.
Over by where the RV place is, right?
Close, yeah, that's what he's referring to.
Okay. Wonder why he thought it would affect this.
The brightness of the,
Oh. But that's been resolved, or we don't know, or?
no, I don't know.
Okay. Just,
I just wanted to point out, I'm pretty sure proper names like cities and states are supposed to be capitalized.
No, that's the brand for Beech Grove.
Well, if you look at the brand that this same logo uses for other Beech Grove stuff, it's all capitalized. I looked it up.
Well, we looked at this brand, I guess, is why we chose this one.
I
I
mean-
didn't know we had more than one.
I didn't.
We just referred to the website, the Beech Grove, City of Beech Grove website and took
It's
the
all
same
small.
font.
It's all small letters.
Yeah, the font and, that's what we were looking at.
Proper English would be capitalized.
Hey,
We haven't built it yet, so we can always change.
yeah, I was gonna say, small b, big B, we can fix that pretty easy.
Yep.
It's big B and big G.
Right. If we change it, yes.
Yeah, we'd make them throw in the G with the B, otherwise the deal would be off.
We can go all caps, man.
Yeah. Well, then you'd be yelling in today's thing. We don't really want to yell it out, but no, I like the multicolor light to where we could change it for, like I say, different events in the city. And where they're sitting, yeah, that'll be nice. So timeline wise, where do you guys think we are?
Well, we need to get an NDOT coordination meeting going.
Yeah, I mean,
And that's gonna be our-
that was part of the scope of this contract. I mean, we can stop now, not spend the rest of this, come up with a new proposal, put that in there and just kind of go for the whole thing.
I think you're close here, other than like, I think you mentioned the color lighting and the ground lighting around it. Those are the only two things possible, big B and big G. Those are the only thing, I don't know, I'm speaking for myself, I'll let these guys talk too, but that's the only thing I see in this proposal that would need to be, to me, modified, and the rest of it, go to NDOT with it as far as I feel,
We'll go ahead and start coordinating with NDOT. We're gonna coordinate with Chad Merritt. And then we can get the proposal for the construction document. We will have to bring in a structural engineer and electrical engineer, but that's just,
right.
How do the plants get watered?
well, it's either manually or put irrigation in, and the irrigation would be kind of expensive.
Now, irrigation, there's,
I mean, we'd have to pipe it.
Are you guys irrigating
Or
the
in any
pots?
direction.
Do you irrigate the pots out here now? So they'd be watered probably the same way that those are, I would assume. The maintenance would be incorporated with that, would be my expectation or assumption.
I mean, we water stuff that needs to be watered now. You're not talking a huge deal if we had to. I mean, we've got the resources within the city that we could handle that.
Would it be Borgman? Would,
Whatever watering they do, they don't do any watering on Main Street. They do some watering on Emerson, he does it with his truck.
That's what I'm saying. It wouldn't be hard to throw that in on those. And I mean, I guess if you plant grasses like you have in the design.
low maintenance.
Those grasses are low maintenance. I mean, that's
Or you
why
can
I
plant
love them.
evergreens.
I wish I'd planted those instead of shrubs around my house. It'd be a heck of a lot easier. So, and again, the flower pot in the center, I think what would be neat about that is, again, it'd be how aggressive the mayor and the parks or whoever wants to do it, but in late March, you plant pansies, you rip them out and put petunias or something in there in June, and in the fall, you put mums. So you always have that constant color, but, this is, to me, is a good investment, just because, again, it improves the image of our city so much. And you guys think about the amount of traffic. Go out there at 5 o'clock, and you cannot
been there.
believe the swell of traffic going north and south that will drive by those signs.
Absolutely.
People that are stuck sitting there waiting for those lanes to clear, when they're not texting on their phone waiting to move, they'll look up, they're gonna see that nice Beech Grove sign.
Agree. Okay.
Well, we are off in June. It's our spring break, summer break, whatever you want to call it. So we're back July 11th. I don't know, Kevin, what's a realistic time for you guys to come back to us? We're pretty open, as you can see.
We can,
July, August, September, October.
well, I mean, July might make sense, but we will have our final proposal together by then to go to
Okay.
the next phase. Then we'll
And if you guys have issues or need to bump back to August, just let us know.
Okay, we can do that.
But thank you for coming and presenting this. Like I say, it's just, I was ready to say, when can you guys get out the shovels and start digging?
After I'm done with my yard at home.
Thank you.
You guys.
Thank you all.
I'm sorry.
I do.
Hey, Kathy's got one real quick question for you guys.
No, not for them.
Oh, sorry,
I
okay,
guess.
never mind, I'm sorry.
Not for us? Okay.
Okay, well, thank you, guys.
You're welcome.
Be safe going home.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Yep, appreciate it. See you in a couple months.
You wanna do yours? And then-
Yeah, if I could.
Yes.
Robert has discussed with us several times creating some kind of grant/loan program application. He wanted us to have something that when somebody wanted to come to the RDC and ask for funds, that we have a form for them to fill out prior to coming to our meeting, so we'll know exactly what it is they're looking for. And so I met last Monday with a former executive director at the Speedway RDC. And he is a consultant now, and he provided me with this form that was actually the Speedway form that he changed to read for Beech Grove. He sent it to me via email, and I printed off copies for us tonight for everybody to look at. But this is something Robert said we really needed to get busy with. So
I read it for your instructions, and yeah, I like it.
it's very
Yeah,
thorough.
It is.
It's very, yeah, I thought you were gonna call somebody. Yeah, I think I like it a lot. I think we should go ahead and, I guess, how could we do this?
Well, I'd like for Robert to look at it, and I think
Yeah.
he's on vacation. Can I
Right.
give this to you
I
to?
actually have a copy.
Oh,
Okay.
okay.
That he wanted to take a look at it, once he gets back and everything.
Well, we've got time. We've got the July meeting.
Do you have any suggestions if you've looked it over? I mean, or,
Not from this, not at this time. I want to go over it with him a little bit, just to make sure that he's comfortable with it, but overall,
well, it's very specific.
Yeah.
Evidently, the Speedway RDC has done a lot when, you notice they talk about restaurants and bars and such.
right,
They've done a lot more and had a lot more requests for that than we have.
on their main street.
Yes,
Out there.
yes.
Yeah, that's
And that's why it's so detailed about restaurants. I'm not sure if it's in this information, but whenever they give sums of money to businesses, they put liens on the property. I don't know if that's in here, but they try to protect themselves. So I thought it was pretty thorough. I thought it was very nice. He and I have had the worst time trying to connect. I've called him many, many times in the last several months, and finally I called him the other day, and he said, let's just get together on Monday. I really like him. He is the former executive director. His wife, for many years, has been the executive director of the Chamber of Commerce. He and his wife are both very involved in the city of Speedway, or town of Speedway.
Who was it that you met with?
I'm sorry?
Who was it that you met with?
Scott Harris. His wife's name, I believe, is Connie. And again, she's been many years the executive director of the chamber, and they do a lot. He was naming all the different things that the chamber there does. He does charge for his consulting. He'd like to talk to us as a group about kind of some guidelines. I mentioned to him that we have an area that, I don't know if the RDC owns it or the city or to Morehouse property. Was that where the trash thing used to be, Dennis? That's all contaminated now,
That's, I believe that's under your control.
under our control? Well, anyway, I told him that we have property, but that the remediation is far greater than we could ever afford. And he said, don't count that property out, because they've had the same problem in Speedway, and they've managed to get that property developed. It just depends on what kind of business it is.
The only property we have is the dump, right?
Yeah.
That'll never be developed.
Well, he said not to count that out. He knows the people to go to check on all that.
The last person who wanted to develop wanted us to spend $3.5 million.
Well, I know, I told him
solar
that. I told him that, and he said, well, he knows we couldn't afford that, but
That was a nightmare.
I know. Anyway, that's who sent me this, and he actually is the one that put Beech Grove's name on it everywhere, so I thought it was pretty nice of him.
Very helpful.
So, he really would like to meet with us at an executive meeting.
Well, we can do that, maybe
Okay.
after summer,
Okay.
if time will ever slow down.
Okay, well, that was my little speech. I just want you to know I met with him for about an hour and a half.
Well, I appreciate that very much. I mean, taking the initiative to do that on your own time.
Well,
like I
Robert's
said-
been wanting us to get a letter composed, and
Well, I know, it's just, again, with everybody having jobs and lives, it's hard, so.
And he said if somebody really wants to come to them for funds, they don't walk in the door without having this filled out completely. It's requirement before you even come to a meeting.
Good.
Did you have anything, Mr. Mayor?
Yeah, couple things. St. Francis, that should be done sometime in July. It was gonna be June, but they didn't come back early enough.
We got a cold spring.
You know, the city maintains the interstate,
Yeah, I saw him out there the other day when I was going back to work.
so that's not a worry for the redevelopment commission. So that's going on. They're doing a lot of environmental work on the Greenway, especially behind South Grove School. So they're down there today and tomorrow. So that's going on. The council approved the uniform conflict of interest for Tanner, so that's done.
Good.
Question on that, do we have to separate the votes still for Crossroads
He
Engineering?
should abstain if it has to do with Crossroads.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure, so I have that going forward.
The north entrances to South Grove School after June 1st, we're gonna take those out and redo them.
Okay,
See where it's settled. You still have to approve the landscaping 50/50 with the city.
Mm.
Remember that?
yeah,
So, nothing's changed. I don't even think his prices have changed,
right. We need a resolution for that.
just simple vote.
Vote. Oh, we have to vote.
That was the, what, 1,100, 1,200?
Well, we
I think
paid,
we were waiting because you weren't here last time. We wanted to
we
talk
paid
about it.
$1,100 for the last bill, but we haven't agreed to any future bills. So we need to make a
Well,
motion.
I don't remember what our half of it was. I was gonna make a motion now to do that, but.
I don't know, I give them to you earlier this year, but I don't know what they are. I'm not even gonna try and guess.
I'm not either, like, my memory's awful.
Got it somewhere.
It's just almost identical pricing and the area is the same.
Right. He does a good job. I mean, those planters and stuff look nice.
$18.30? Does that sound right?
Sounds about right. I thought it'd be 36.60. That's about right, isn't it?
Mowing is $1,170 plus a little bit of fertilization, and spring cleanup and pruning for a total of $18.30.
Okay.
If this is the right one,
Well, then I guess
from February 5th.
I will make a motion then that we go ahead and formally approve $1,830 to help cover the cost of maintaining, I guess, common areas that the city is responsible for.
It would be, well, it's areas where you are, it's Emerson Avenue,
Yeah,
from Churchman to Albany, the Pocket Park, Main Street,
What's Pocket
and the
Park?
roundabout.
Roundabout,
it's that park
Centennial
over
Park.
by the Amtrak.
I
You know,
thought
when
that
you
was
go to
Centennial.
Main
Centennial Park.
Yeah, Roundabout, Centennial Park, Emerson, Main Street.
Okay.
Well, I guess I will make a motion for $1,830 to maintain those areas touched by TIF districts under RDC control, which is half of the $3,660, with the city covering the other half. I'd make a motion that we cover the $1,830.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We will cover the $1,830, Mr. Mayor.
If that cost is not accurate, you may have to revisit it. I don't know.
That's fine. Well,
Okay.
I mean, we're good till we get back. I mean, that's,
I should know on May 23rd about Thompson Road sidewalks.
I hope they're gonna put them in, because you need someplace to drive. I'm serious, Thompson Road is, I mean, they've done those, and I guess, I don't understand that. Why, if they can pull up like 3 inches of asphalt and put down strips, why not have scraped the whole road and just done it right? I mean, you know what I mean? It just seems like such a waste of money. Because the areas they fixed, yeah, they look fine now, but
They're
they'll
probably trying
fall
to save
apart.
money.
Yeah, and I mean, they're not, to me, it's, if you're bringing out the crew to do that, why not do the whole thing and do it correctly? I just don't understand that.
We had, but I'll know May 23rd if we're gonna get federal funding on that. The Arlington, the roundabout is, on track, it's on time, anytime after July 1st of next year. That's about it. This has nothing to do with the RDC, but there's a drug-free event out in front of City Hall next Wednesday, 6 o'clock.
Did we ever hear anything back on the building over by St. Francis on 17th? Have they ever gotten anything anywhere on that? I was really hoping once the hospital came down, there'd be a little more interest in that and the old Starbucks. I mean, and the old Dairy Queen. I mean, those are properties, I guess, to me, we really, probably, maybe not this year, but next year, I don't know, we need to figure out something, because that building on 17th, that doctor's building, how many years that's that vacant now?
Too long.
It's gotta be closing in on what, 8 or 9 years, 10 years?
They closed it before St. Francis, or Allen might have been in there, he was like the last stand in there. But most of those specialties pulled out.
Was somebody interested in senior citizen living
They were,
facility, but that all fell through apparently?
I mean, that's a fairly modern building, and that's what I'm saying, it's a shame that it's sitting there vacant like that.
and the Starbucks building is, every once in a while she'll call here, the owner of the property. But, to my knowledge, there's been no movement. She hasn't even fixed the building from when it got hit about 3 or 4 years ago. So, I don't know. That's it. Any questions?
I do, but it doesn't have anything to do with what we just talked about. I went over today with the lady that attended our RDC meeting, and she was from the Carson Farms Homeowners Association. Erica is her name. And I went over to her house today, and she and I walked all along the back there. They are under the impression that Carson Farms owns all that property where the trailways is going to be. Do they?
No, the city of Beech Grove owns it.
Do you know how far back property lines go? Because she's convinced, I mean, the way she showed me, the way it was going to cross the creek and go behind houses, is going to affect about 15 houses, not hers. There's also a retention pond back there. I've never been back there before, but there's a retention pond, and it's very wooded around it, and she lives on the west side of that pond. So this trail will not be in her backyard.
She's up top, right?
Yes. Well, sort of.
Like you go up the road, it's back there in that one area.
Well, she's on a corner. She's not back in the area. It's just that her house is not affected by this trail, but there are about 15 houses that are. And those are the 15 families that are concerned about a trail in their backyard. And she said, I thought we owned this property.
When,
They have been paying to have it mowed. They've been paying to have a lawn and garden company come in and clear the weeds. I mean, she said they spend a lot of money every year maintaining that property because they thought it was theirs.
if you look, because believe it or not, when you go up that hill, not the first house, but the second house was originally gonna be, I bought that lot. And when they cut the hill and moved the dirt over to the other side, they started putting the footers in, and they realized they were gonna have issues. So the people that owned them, which was Crossman Communities, pulled out of there, and that's how I hopped the other side of the pond into Beech Grove. but if you looked at the drawings, those yards go back maybe 50, 60 feet, but the other 65 feet, that's a floodplain, and that's owned by that's what the mayor said, that's owned by the city.
Well, she said that. She said she can actually hear when we've had a lot of rain. That retention pond overflows and it goes underneath and comes out in the creek. And she said, this is all flooded. And again, I'd never been back there, but they think they own that property.
Almost all of the property for the Greenway, 95% at least of all the property involved in the Greenway is either owned by the city or the school district, one of the two.
Well, there's at least two families, one in particular, that actually built a shed, a little garden, way back from their property. And she said, I am positive that they're not on their own property.
Then they'll be moving that.
That's what I told her. I said,
I mean, because we looked at it, because like I say, we had the plat drawings, and I walked back, and I'm telling you, when you get to the end of where the property is, you still got another 30 to 40 feet.
oh,
back
yeah,
there.
yeah.
And, it's no different than my community, which is across the creek. I mean, we pay about $20,000 a year to mow from 9th Street all the way back. So like we fertilize. So if you notice, there's no dandelions there. So we maintain that now. Eventually, that'll become a greenway, and when it does, I'm sure we will not be mowing it anymore. That'll probably, well, I can't say that because we still will probably want to keep it nice to our community and do stuff. But, yeah, I mean, it's.
Well, her point to me was, if this isn't our property, we have spent lots and lots of money maintaining it because we thought it belonged to Carson Farms, public property of
They
Carson.
still got the benefit of it looking nice.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's lovely back there. It really is. It's very, very nice.
But even if the city owns it and the trail goes through there, we've met with them at least twice now. Some of the people that live back there, they don't have a concern at all, but some do. So you
Right. There's
still
about
wanna-
15 houses that it's going to be in their
You
backyard.
still want to hear what they have to say,
Right.
whether we own it or not.
Well, her question is, because it floods back there, how far up? I mean, there's like a hill, down here it's low by the creek and then it goes up. Where is that going to be exactly?
Well,
Because
that's
she
up
said
to
if it's
you.
where she thinks it is, it's going to flood.
That's up to the engineers.
and if you remember, Trent, right?
Trent,
Yeah, if you remember, they were talking about that. That's going to be one of the design features of that, and that the trail will kind of be like this, or like have a slight angle to it to water will run off, because when it floods up, then it'll drain back off. I mean, it's designed, it's going to be designed or engineered to deal with flooding because it's in a floodplain.
well, I told her, I said, I can't answer your question, but I'm sure Trent can, and I'm sure that they've already thought of that. She just wants to know why it can't be on the other side of the creek instead of
I
their
think the
side.
other side, I think the topography prohibits it from being built.
Yeah, it would be a lot more expensive if it was on.
I told her that she had questions that maybe she needed to call Trent. I couldn't answer those questions.
And there's another house on the other side of the creek in the Park Meadow area
Right.
that's really close to, the trail's going to go close to their backyard.
Right.
But that property is owned by the city as well.
Okay.
If, when this first came about in 2003 or 4, there's two houses down at the end where there's a cul-de-sac. And one house sits here and then one house sits here, and there's this big open area. Well, they built an easement in between those people's houses. And originally, the trail was gonna go behind Park Meadow, go between these two houses, come up onto the sidewalk, and follow the sidewalk through the neighborhood. That was gonna be the greenway. And trust me, those people who own those two houses were not thrilled about a greenway going between their two homes. Now, fortunately, the city squandered the money and it never happened, but, this one I think is gonna be done much better. And, I'll put it this way, I understand concerns about greenways. I don't understand why everybody thinks that's the only place rapists and murderers hang out, but, I just know that if you look to Broad Ripple, going up towards Westfield, you see a house within a block of that Monon, you're paying 25 to 30% premium on that house because people like that greenway and open space. And those 15 or 16 neighbors at Carson Farms, their houses, once that's in and it's being used, their houses just went up $15,000 to $20,000. They just got $20,000 of equity.
I'm not sure she believes that. I don't know, but
It would absolutely
I
is
don't
true.
think they believe that.
If you look, if it wasn't true, they wouldn't be built. And I'm just telling you, I've seen studies that have shown it. The Monon Trail is incredibly popular. Houses along it and businesses along it pay a premium to be there. Crime on the Monon is no higher statistically than anywhere else in Marion County. As a matter of fact, if you look, it's not negligible. As
Well-
long as you follow the rules, which is to do it during daylight hours, you're not out there at night, you're not out there looking for crack cocaine or anything like that, you're gonna be safe.
Well, the question she had for me, I just went to see what she was talking about. I took a few pictures, but I told her I would ask you about the ownership of the property, and I told her for more technical questions, she needed to contact Trent.
That was good advice.
Well, we have is it July or August, we have them coming back?
I
What
don't
quarter,
know.
we have to have them come in quarterly, right? Is it quarterly or?
We had a meeting on February 26th
Right.
at our
At the
the
hospital.
professional building. That was February 26th.
But we have to have so many open meetings a year, right?
Yeah, but that's not that's an NDOT thing.
Okay,
That's not a
Right.
us thing.
okay.
But we don't know when the next one is, correct?
No, I don't.
Okay. Who would be in charge of scheduling that? Trent? Okay. If she still has questions, would she be able to come to that meeting?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
yes.
I'd encourage her and the people.
Well, one gentleman came with her, and his house actually backs up to it.
We had a
Hers,
meeting the other night with people that live down along Charmwood.
Yeah, our neighborhood.
Yeah.
right. Anyway, that's all I had to say.
Because they have the same questions that the people over at Carson's Farms have.
Well, weren't they here recently?
Yeah.
Because they had some easels and there's a couple folks from the neighborhood in the front. So, and
That was
they
her.
did-
She's the
They did
president
voice
of,
their concerns and,
she's the homeowner, the association
But this-
president.
We had a
Okay.
separate meeting with
oh, okay.
the people that live down below. It was about 25 homeowners we sent notices to that we wanted to meet with them concerning this. Because it comes up into it hops a creek and comes up and gets on the sidewalk and it goes along the easement there at the road. So there's people, they had questions about it.
Right. That's all I had.
Anybody have anything else for the mayor? Or have we beaten him up enough?
No, you're not beating me up. I don't know of anything else to report.
I do have one question. I was just thinking about it. There's a house or a property over on Emerson near that Beech Grove station. And it's got a ton of debris. Is there anything being done about
Yes.
this? I was gonna say, because I drove by and like they've got, at first it was all in the back, now they've drug it out to Emerson Avenue and it's,
He's been given his third $2,500 ticket.
Oh,
Jesus.
good.
is the person living in the house the homeowner? No, it's a
Nobody
renter.
lives there.
Wow.
He doesn't live there, he owns the property, it's his home, heavy industrial, believe it or not.
Hmm.
But if you see it, you know it's, he needs to clean it.
Oh, yeah, I just, again, that's,
And what'll happen is, see, that he's become that's become an environmentalist.
right.
So we started writing tickets. He's up to the third ticket. And every day we could go over there and issue another ticket if he hadn't cleaned it up. So he's gotten one ticket for $100. He's gotten a ticket for $250. Now he's got a ticket for third offense, $2,500. then he has two more $2,500 tickets. So what will happen is he'll come to court here, and the judge will either find him guilty or not guilty, or he'll work something out with the court, one of the two. But we can't, see, once they issue the ticket, the city, there's nothing the city can do. It goes into the court. The judge will have to rule, decide. The city can't rule. It's in the court.
Right.
Speaking of tickets, Dennis, do you have an update for us on the used car lots there on Main and Emerson?
Yeah, they issued more tickets in the alley than they do on the street.
Has that situation improved at all since our last meeting?
No, it's gotten worse.
Really?
Gosh.
Well, I think you hit the nail on the head. They've outgrown their facilities.
Yeah.
They're doing too much business there for the square footage they occupy.
Pull in to mail a letter, and you turn in the alley to go to Emerson.
Yeah, behind us.
A lot of times there's cars parked there, it's hard to get through.
Yep.
So when they go through there, if they see cars that are parked like that, they issue a ticket to the car. They write a lot more tickets in the alley than they do on the street. And same way, he had an issue with 2-hour parking out front. And he said, where are my employees supposed to park at? I said, your employees shouldn't be parking on Main Street anyway. Your employees should be parking in a lot off the street somewhere. I said, where do your customers park? He said, well, they have to park wherever they can find a spot. I said, wouldn't it be more feasible for your customers to park in front of your buildings?
Sure.
You know, and then to do business, how long are they gonna be there? Are they gonna be there 2 hours? He said, probably not. I said, that doesn't make any sense what you're doing. So, Ron, to me, it's getting worse, the problem.
And the other lot that is on Emerson,
The parking behind those buildings. It's getting worse instead. We just issued tickets. They, April, they sold, do you understand their business model? Their
No.
business, they sell it's all
Online.
online.
internet, isn't it? Yeah.
So they don't have a whole lot of foot traffic. They do, but they don't. That business sold 444 cars in April.
Unbelievable.
And, I mean, it's all day long.
Mm-hmm.
And they're way too big for where they're at.
Sounds like it.
Have they acknowledged that? Do they recognize that? That
We've talked about it. You know, you're way too big for where you're at. You need to do something. You can't expand into the neighborhoods.
No.
You know. So I don't know what they're gonna do.
Move down to the Kmart. Can eventually they be termed a public nuisance? Hey, have you heard any more about, you mentioned possibly a roundabout being put in where the Speedway and Lowe's Drive is. Did we hear any more about that? Because you said that at one point in time that was one of the most dangerous intersections.
Yes, the NDOT did a study on the 50 most dangerous intersections in Marion County and the Donut counties. And that intersection where, at Victory Drive at Emerson, where you turn where the White Castle is, right there, Steak and Shake, that made that list. So, I don't know what the parameters are that they come up with, but what it does is it made it eligible for some type of funding to correct it. So whether they ever do anything with it, I don't know.
I
Now,
can't-
two of the top 50, they're, and I don't know where they're at, but they're funding to redo those. So I don't know what type of corrective measures they're taking, but that's one of the top 50.
Did we get any extra money for paving this year since they raised our gas tax?
We got $396,000 from the state. Now, keep in mind, this is a bad deal. The city of Indianapolis has 430 square miles of roads. The city of Beech Grove has 4 square miles of roads. The city of Indianapolis got $600,000 from the community crossings grant. The city of Beech Grove got $396,000.
Seems fair.
Think about it.
They like you better, I guess.
What's the message? But our award, and almost every award that was given, was reduced. And it was reduced because the paving prices came in, the bids came in ridiculously low. Much lower than engineers' estimates.
Really?
Yes.
I wonder why.
And what do you
I don't
attribute
know.
that to?
I don't know. Don't know. But they did, so our award was reduced from 396,000 down to 338,000. So you just have to modify what you're gonna do, so it's no big deal. But that's that 10-cent gas and all that other stuff.
Well, the more we can get paved, the better. Well, like I say, I still look at Thompson and then the road that goes from 9th over to Sherman Avenue. I can never think of the name of it.
Redford?
You know, when you drive that over by that one set of apartments, the road there in that section is so bad that it's now become a one-lane street.
Yeah.
And you will watch people going east will stop and wait for the people going west to clear out, and they will go over and drive around because that road is so bad.
I'll tell you what's really depressing is that they have a long-range planning, road paving, through believe it or not, through 2045. And Thompson Road is under the control of the city of Indianapolis. There is no plans to do anything with Thompson Road from Arlington West to Shelbyville Road. Think about it, through 2045.
That road won't make it.
Oh dear.
I mean, here's the thing, honestly, Thompson needs to be widened to like either 4 lanes or a 5 lane or something like that from from Emerson to at least 9th Avenue, if not to Shelbyville Road. I mean, it does, it carries a tremendous amount of traffic.
Yeah.
Even, and as far as that goes, if you're going east, Thompson from Emerson all the way out to, I would say almost Arlington probably needs to be, you know, well, look at Emerson Avenue, they still haven't widened it from stop 10, or from, I mean, Southport all the way down to county line.
Now, Emerson will be redone from stop 11 to county line road.
I remember when Emerson was gravel. I do.
But there's an argument, so Emerson's 4 or 5 lanes up to
Ew.
Southport Road, and then it shrinks. So now they're going to go over to Stop 11 and widen the road.
It's before my time.
They're not gonna do
Jesus.
anything yet with
Or strong
Stop
carriages.
11 to Southport Road, because the city of Indianapolis and NDOT's fighting over who's gonna do the bridge.
Well, to me, that's almost a safety issue, because when you got heavy traffic, I mean, here's the thing with the closing of our hospital, when you got heavy traffic, if you're in a hospital, if you're in an ambulance going from Beech Grove to St. Francis, and it's, again, 5:15, you know, that ambulance isn't gonna move anywhere because you got traffic sitting on that bridge going both ways because it's so heavy. And I mean, it needs.
My father-in-law's at Rose Gate, and you can't hardly get in and out of that.
Oh, I know. It's, you know, it's crazy, and I've always felt like living on the south side, we're ignored by Indianapolis. Like, the people downtown think Marion County stops about a quarter mile south of them. Like Fountain Square is the outskirts of Indianapolis, and anything south of there, we don't know who those. And I mean, example, Indianapolis Monthly. You know, a magazine. You never hardly see anything about South Side written on it. It's all North Side and this and that. And I mean, you almost feel like that with the building of the road, because I'll tell you, if anybody drove down Thompson Avenue this spring, I mean, it was horrible. And, you know, you see people going into your lane to try to avoid potholes. But anything else for the mayor? Any general business or comments anybody wants to talk about?
Scott Harris, when he met with me at Starbucks in Beech Grove a few months ago, he drove through Beech Grove Station. He said he was totally impressed with that, totally impressed. He said it's probably the best thing we did with that property. He said he'd like to do something like that in Speedway.
Good.
Well, that was definitely making a lemonade out of
I'm
a
looking
big
at
lemon.
who's responsible.
Huh? I told him it was just me. Ron went.
Well, I can
I
believe
told
it.
him Ron missed that meeting, so I just made the decision.
I called off sick that night.
Yeah. Oh, we can't forget Joe on that. We should have a plaque there with his name on it, too.
Without him, it wouldn't have been possible.
That's right. Provided the impetus. Made Dennis laugh, anyway.
Yeah, he liked him.
Well, this is our last meeting until July 11th, so if nobody has anything else and everybody else is fairly satisfied, I will ask for a motion to adjourn. You gave me the look like you had something else.
No.
I move to adjourn the meeting.
All in favor?
Second.
Okay, the
Aye.
meeting is adjourned at 8:13.